Hello everybody, today's knife review, the Hultafors Craftsman with the enhanced grip, is I think quite interesting, and it's come about because of a video by Moonbear Dell. He bought one of these from a company off Amazon, and he made a video not only because he liked the knife but because he was impressed with the service from the company. Double T Tools, if I remember correctly. I'll put the link in the description box below. But I was intrigued, so I bought one. This is what it looks like. Okay, so as you can see, as well as the Hultafors and its sheath, I've also got the Mora Companion and its sheath. The reason being, as soon as most people see the Hultafors knife, the first question I would imagine they're going to ask is it as good as a Mora? And that means we're going to have to do quite a bit of side-by-side comparison while we're reviewing the Hultafors. So we'll get some specs out of the way first. Let's move the sheath. They're both stainless steel, the Mora being 12C27. The Hultafors is a Japanese stainless steel, but they don't specify which one. We have to assume that it's going to be reasonable until we prove wrong, and in fairness, in this price bracket you wouldn't be expecting a high performance cutting edge, if you pardon the expression, steel. It only really needs to compare reasonably to 12C27, because this knife costs £7.99 free shipping from Double T Tools. The Mora Companion is usually in the £12 to £15 bracket. Now Heinnie Haynes, which is one of the obvious retailers in the UK, they sell this for £11, but then you're going to have to add on another £3 for shipping. So from Heinnie Haynes, that's £14 altogether. From Double T Tools it was £8. So when you consider the price difference, the Hultafors is already off to a good start. The size is very comparable. The blade thickness is 2.5mm on the Hultafors and 2.5mm on the stainless Companion, although it's only 2mm on the carbon steel Companion. There are heavy duty versions of both these knives with a 3mm thick blade for the Hultafors, and a 3.2mm thick blade for the Companion heavy duty. Blade lengths are 93mm, 3.7 inches for the Hultafors, and 103mm or 4 inches just for the Mora. And the weights are also very comparable. The Hultafors is 82 grams, 2.9 ounces, and the Mora is 84 grams, also 2.9 ounces, to one place of decimals. In the sheaths, they're both pretty much the same again. 3.8 ounces for the Hultafors, 4.1 ounces for the Mora. They both have a rubbery grip. I believe it's unspecified on the Mora, but on the Hultafors it's the handle's described as polypropylene, which is the hard plastic that most of the handles are made from, with an overmoulding of santoprene. And I believe santoprene is a thermoplastic that behaves very much like rubber, except it tolerates higher and lower temperatures without cracking and falling to bits than rubber does. We've got this ridged moulding with the logo on the handle there, and it is very grippy. I have a slightly more pronounced finger guard on the Hultafors compared to the Mora, and it is a very comfortable knife to hold. And on the website they say that the edge is sharpened in several stages, including a final strop on a leather strop. Now I don't imagine that's done entirely by hand. I'm assuming the leather strop is either a wheel or a powered leather belt. But the idea, I imagine, is to convey a sense of attention to detail. And as you can see, the factory edge is really nice. Nothing wrong with that at all. Pretty much what you'd expect, and easily able to compete with the Mora. Going back to the attention to detail, I think we need to look at the sheaths. Now this admittedly is a sheath off my old clipper. I'm going to have to assume that the current sheath for the current Companion is pretty much the same, and if there is any significant difference, I'd be quite happy for anybody to let me know. So we'll now move the knives and look at the sheaths. Basically, same idea. Moulded plastic, flattened tube with a drain hole in the bottom. The knife slides in, the Mora clicks in. The Hultafors doesn't click in as such, but you feel the grip, and it is quite firm in the sheath. Overall, we've got a bit shorter overall length on the Hultafors. On the Mora, there's a little thumb ramp there to push off to help you take the knife out. Much bigger on the Hultafors, and in fact you can see that there's a loop there that you can put a cord through to hang the knife from wherever you want to hang it from. Both have a moulded belt clip. Now, on the Mora, we've got the big button loop, so that you put the button into the big hole and it slots up behind the narrow part of the slot. On your belt loop, it's folded over and there are two ridges that sit side by side to stop your belt coming out. I personally would always be worried that that's not entirely secure, and you could, if you're working, using the knife, fetching and carrying, lifting and bending, you could pop that off your belt if you're not careful. But on the Hultafors, a couple of significant differences. We've got the same idea of the button hanger, where the button goes in the big hole and then you pull down and the button sits behind the narrow slot. But here, and I'll show you a close up at the end if you can't see the detail, there is a little locking ridge where the button would have to go up over the lump and then sit down behind the highest point there, so it locks in that slot. And similarly, the folded over belt loop isn't loose. There are two tabs which lock it closed, making it, I think, much more secure. So overall, I think the Hultafors is a very serious contender. I've got I found on the internet a still showing the tang is about halfway up the handle. I'm assuming that it's the same tang pattern in each of the mouldings, because the still that I found appears to be the heavy duty version. But it would make little sense for all the blanks to have different tangs. It'd be much cheaper and simpler for them to all be the same. So we assume that it's at least a halfway tang, it should be a very robust knife. And as I say, for the price, £8 from Double T Tools compared to £12 to £15 plus shipping potentially for the Mora, I think you should really consider this, if only as a toolbox knife or a tackle box knife that you can leave in a puddle, leave it filthy dirty, and it's going to take some abuse. On the other hand, I think it's well worth looking after. I think it's going to serve you well. So, links in the description box for Double T Tools. As I say, the Hultafors Craftsman knife with the enhanced grip. Bit of a bargain. Thanks for watching.